welcome to Take a Wonder with Shebs. Now, on this edition of the show, I spoke to three key individuals, Marco, Antonis, and Gary, about the magazine Voyagers Voice, and what their vision and what their long-term goals are for the magazine. Let's take a look into what they had to tell me. Marco, Antonis, Gary, welcome to the show. How are you all?
First of all, thanks for inviting us. We are fine. We are the members of Voyagers Voice.
We'll come on to the magazine. What I like to do is I like to discuss a little bit about yourself, so the people who are listening get a bit of inspiration on your journey, really, to where you've come now. So I'll start with you, Antonis. Your first love for travel, where did it all begin?
Fortunately, my family was a traveling family. They like very much to travel. But due to the restriction, and there was another age then, they travel only Greece. We have traveled in every place in Greece. So when I was able to travel by myself, Greece is not enough for me, and I began to travel all around Europe. And this became a passion to me. When at the middle of the one journey, I was starting to planning the next one. I was planning trips in my head. When it's going to be the next one? And and I was the one who, with my friends, I was making all the plans. I was arranging everything. I was trying to find the best places to go, the hotels, the restaurants, everything. So it was actually my friends who told me, "Why don't you share this passion with other ones? Why don't you make a blog to share your experiences?" And became more or less, I don't even understand how the blog began. The blog is food and travel, and it has travel tips and ideas about Greece and Europe. And on the journey with food and travel, Marco came along and proposed to me to cooperate with the Voyagers Voice magazine.
Gary, so how did your first love for travel begin, and how did you get into Voyagers Voice?
Well, I think it became a passion for travel because my parents actually travelled the world. And we're talking in the 50s, where travel international was very rare. And they went beyond just touristy places. They went to all over the world, Europe, Asia, Africa, you name it. So I think I got the travel bug from them. I started traveling myself. I started off with Europe. I've been to America 24 times. And then realised there's more to the world than America, so I then went beyond. And a few times I got caught out, where most people do, with people scamming you when you're on holiday, or you get shortchanged and so forth. So I wanted to design a sort of a travel tip service started off with friends on Facebook. And that was 10 years ago. Like Antonis said, Marco contacted me and asked, would I like to get involved with the magazine. At first I said I wouldn't be able to because of my time. My job is quite demanding and I get quite tired easily. But then when it first started, I was able to join 1-2 meetings and got involved. So that's how I entered Voyagers Voice.
Marco, for yourself, how did your journey start? Where are you from actually as well? And just tell us a little bit about how you fell in love with travel as well.
Regarding your question, I am from Italy, even if right now I am based in Spain, in Valencia. And I think that everything started also because of my family. My parents were traveling, and we were traveling throughout Italy and Austria and former Yugoslavia, because I was born in that corner of Italy. So, and maybe other reason that I love traveling and love the culture was because in my hometown, there are 3 different cultures: the culture of Italian culture, the culture of former Yugoslavia, and the culture of the Empire of Austro-Hungary. So that multicultural way of thinking, I think that makes me love traveling. And from that point, I started also to travel by myself. When I was 17, I went for the first time to live on my own to Germany. After that, I went to live in London, in UK. After that, I went to live in Spain, in 3 different places, in Barcelona, Malaga, and in Valencia. I went to live in Honduras. I went to live to Chile. I went to live in Colombia, and now I'm back in Spain.
You definitely can tell that you've been everywhere. You've lived in some of these places, and well, from all of yous anyway, you can tell the passion that you have for traveling in general, especially Gary, as you were saying that your family traveling in the 50s, it was very, very rare, because traveling, as we know, over the last 10 to 20 years has become more and more common. Back in the 50s, not very common at all. Now, I'll come on to why I've brought you all onto the show today. Let's talk about Voyagers Voice, the magazine itself. I actually write as one of the contributors, which is why I thought, why not talk about Voyagers Voice and try and get it to a level where I think it should be. Now, I'll start off with you, Marco, because I want to know how you started. Why did you start this magazine, and what was your intention and goal when you first decided to come up with Voyagers Voice?
All it started at the time of the pandemic. When the pandemic came, I realized that we should need to join forces to do something together, because the time was hard, and especially in the touristic sector, So I started looking for collaborators, even if I didn't know what to do, because the only thing that I didn't want to do, it was to stay with the hand crossed and do nothing. So I started looking for the collaborators, and when I found a few of them, I proposed to do something, to create a magazine. So when I proposed, we were something like 11 or 12, something like that. When I proposed that, all of them agreed with the proposal. After that, we realized that to do that project, we will need some money. So when we start talking about money, almost all the people, almost all the collaborators completely disappeared, and we remain just 3 of us. So we remain with Antonis, Julia, and myself. We were complete newbies. We didn't know anything about it, and behind that was just a desire and the passion to do something. So we started to create the first issue, and for the first issue, we wanted to interview to Gary. And when it was the day to interview the Gary, our fellow, we explained him about the project. He liked the project, and he decided to tell us some very good, important advices, because otherwise we would fall straight away. That's why he started everything. I think that, as I told before, the project and the magazine was really a desire about the desire and the passion of the members of the magazine.
Gary, what made you decide, actually, I should say, to get involved with Voyagers Voice? What was the initial hook for you?
I work for Transport for London. I work in the communications department, so I communicate to 28,000 staff members. And doing that, part of my job is working on staff magazines. So I have a bit of background. I'm also a graphic designer. I actually studied and ended up teaching graphic design up to high national diploma level. So I came on board because I had ideas how to help assist with how the magazine should look, how to keep stories fairly short and sweet. It's called KISS, Keep It Short and Sweet. And just to sort of add some other dimension, it'd be good to have a collaboration with other people. English obviously is my first language, so I could help at times with proofing, which is also part of my daily job at TfL. So that's why I came on board. I thought it was a really exciting adventure. and something to sort of take part in.
Antonis, how about yourself? What was your initial hook when Marco approached you?
My initial hook was that the chance to meet other people from various countries, which is something exciting. I met Gary, I met Marco, I met Julia from Italy, so many people. The hook was to get to know more people interested in traveling. As Marco said, we were only at the beginning 3 people, and we didn't really understand what we were going to do. We said, okay, we will make a sample issue, and we see. But when Gary came on board, this was something that he gave us another perspective. It changed everything because Gary is a professional and gave us his professional advice. And this is why we managed to make the first issue. And from the first issue on, people start to be interested in the magazine, and we find more collaborators and more writers. And this became even more exciting for me. And now I don't want to stop it.
Marco, I think this question probably relates to you. Why would you want to start a magazine, especially during a pandemic? And travel magazines, there are plenty of them. It's a very competitive field. Why start a magazine in such a competitive field? And how do you see yourself becoming noticed around the world?
I know that there is a lot of competition about the travel magazines, but our idea was more than else was to help people, to give them visibility in these difficult times, because the pandemic was really a hard problem for them, and I was thinking especially about small business, touristic business companies, and also to give a connection between a link between the tourism companies and the travelers, because both of them they needed each other, but I didn't see in other magazines that kind of feeling, that kind of connection. That's why I wanted to do this.
Gary, I want to ask you, as Marco's explained there, you start in this magazine during a pandemic, and also it's a very competitive field. When you first initially went in, I know you said there was reasons why. Are you looking at long term?
It's hard to say. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd love to retire early from work if I could afford to, and then have more time to do sort of more leisurely pursuits, including like helping back with the magazine.
Antonis, how about for yourself?
It will be in an ideal world. Yes, this is what I want to do. I want to do travel blogging. I want to make a Voyagers Voice magazine. I want to have it a future, the magazine. It's something that helps me escape the reality, the everyday reality, and make me travel all around the world.
Come on to you, Marco, and ask this question. So what is your long-term goal for the magazine then?
I don't like to look that way because, for example, I prefer the day-by-day process, Anyway, if I would choose one goal, a long-term goal, I would say that I would like to have more contributors, more regular contributors, so that we could have like a bigger magazine. For example, right now, currently we have between 50 and 60 pages. Personally, I would like to reach something like 80 or 90, because that would mean also that that the audience would be bigger.
In terms of the magazine, it looks fantastic. Aesthetically, it looks great. The design, the effort that goes into it. So who are the key people behind that?
It was a collaboration between all 4 of us before the magazine actually started. So we thought about the logos for the masthead, how it would look and so forth. I sort of added in sort of some ideas because that's my graphic design background. Antonis and Julia do the majority of the design work. Marco comes up with all the concept of the actual magazine and content. So I'd say, more or less, I'd say it's Antonis and Julia.
Antonis, tell us a little bit about behind the scenes that goes in.
My main job is to do the editing, which is something challenging because, as you have seen, we try every issue to be different from the previous one. Each article to have its own identity. to have to be something related to the person who is writing or the place who it refers to. So it is a very interactive procedure, the editing of the magazine. We all try to do our best. However, I'm the key person behind the editing.
Normally, we do with 1 or 2 months in advance the planning, and we cannot wait, for example, the last day to put an article. So if we are short with one article, it would be a great problem. So that's why I try to contact to the contributors. I am asking the deadline more or less. There's no rush, but I just for the plan for planning better. And there is a lot of things, because after that you have to prove, you have to read, you have to see if the content is okay, if there are some mistakes. After that, Tony must edit, do the layout. After, when he edit, also maybe can have other mistakes. So there are a lot of things to do. And anyway, this is part of the process. This is things that we have learned. This is things that we enjoy, because a part of reading the article, because some of them are very, very, very nice and very, very well done.
The magazine is digital. Now, as I spoke to you about long-term goals, would you like to go into print where people will buy it from shops?
Our idea is not to print the magazine for two simple reasons. Yeah. The first one is because we are committed to the environmental problems, and there is no point of waste natural resources unless it would not be necessary. And there are so many travel magazines, printed travel magazines, so that we would not be the only one. The second reason is that we believe that the art and the culture should be available for everyone, should be free, because especially in this time of all the prices goes up. If you print a magazine, that means that you have to charge a fee. And if you charge a fee, you cannot give the opportunity to everyone to give that kind of culture.
Something you've just mentioned there, the reason why potentially you're not gonna print is to help out the environment. There are other projects that you're doing, and in fact, I know this personally because I'm involved with it. You're doing an ebook where it's talking about how to save or travel sustainably. Who was actually involved with this idea, and why was it important to tell that story of traveling sustainably and making the world a better place?
During the process of making the magazine came the idea of to have combine traveling with environmental awareness. In order to do this, we want to address it to a younger audience. And with it, instead of the magazine, to create an ebook with two protagonists who are going to be two young people, because we think that it's very important. Traveling is a wonderful thing, but should be always be you are aware of the environmental problems and the problems that tourism can cause to various places around the world.
Marco, have you got anything to add in terms of the concept behind it, or why was it so important to you?
Apart from the importance of for the tourism sector, tourism field, because all of us, all of travelers, must be more responsible with traveling. I would also add that this is a co-creation project where are taking part over 20 people from different countries, with different races, with different religions. And I think that this multicultural project can be also a positive way of teaching young people, especially travel families and school, about the value of the respect.
Gary, have you had much say in the project itself?
I helped write one piece. I agree with Tony and Marco that youngsters are the next generation of travellers, and they need to sort of travel more environmentally. So I think it's a great idea that it's come about. Hopefully it will engage the youngsters.
What's the most enjoyable part of the job, and what's the most challenging side to it?
Regarding the first one about enjoyable, I think everything. Because as I told you before, it's like even if you don't travel, you are traveling because you know a lot of places by reading. You know different cultures. You know people. You meet people. I think that all of us we have enriched a lot since when we started. Regarding the second one, the most challenging, maybe the most one is to find or to look for contributors. First of all, good people, and second one, good ones to write, because maybe no, for sure, everyone is traveling, but not everyone is good for explain or write a piece, an article, so that they can be interesting and at the same time excited. So maybe that could be the most challenging things of the job.
During the pandemic, obviously people weren't able to travel, not even within their own country. So writing about travel was a form of escapism for the reader as well as for the writer. It was a way of keeping travel alive while nobody could. So I think that was a beneficial part. Plus also you've got an audience with nobody being able to go out. That's why streaming services went sky high, because people couldn't go out. They couldn't do things in the evenings or at weekends. So having a book on travelling at the sort of time when you couldn't may have seemed a bit weird, but it was good because as I said, it's escapism. As for the challenging part, as I said earlier, 2 jobs, full-time jobs. It's hard work. I've had some health issues. I've had an operation recently. So that knocked me out as well. And also, I think another challenge is, like as Marco said, it's just trying to get people or content. And I have the same issue in my job at work. Sometimes stories don't come about, so you've got last minute sort of trying to get stories to fill gaps. Like Voyagers Voice, my magazines at work, we work 2 months ahead of time. And you have to think of, when you're writing, you have to think of it as in the future, but without it being sounding like it's in the future. It has to be sounding like it's in the present. But that itself can be quite a challenge as well, because you might have to write something that hasn't happened yet. So yeah, I'd say that's a bit of a challenge as well.
Antonis, how about for yourself?
As Marco said, I joined almost everything. I enjoy reading the articles of the magazine. It's I think we have a very good content, which is very interesting, and I travel myself through this article. I enjoy all this collaboration with all these different people, with Marco, with Julia. This is a window to the world for me. I enjoy making the magazine, the editing. It's such a creative procedure that I lost myself in this creating procedure. Maybe my wife complains, my son complains, but I enjoyed this hour spent editing the magazine. And the most hard part is find the content in general for the magazine, to find high quality content that could be interesting for everyone. And especially for me, for the editing, as I said before, it is trying to find something different every time, for every article, for every issue. If you have now 15 issues, if you look at the 15 issues, none of them is same to the previous one or the next one. This is something challenging and also very creative for me.
It's been such a great chat. I feel as though I've got to know the behind the scenes on how it all started. Hopefully the audience listening in have had the same sort of experience. Just before I let you all go, Marco, for you, if you just tell us where we can find the magazine and on all the social media platforms.
Look, the magazine you can find on our website, www.voyagersvoice.com, where you can find a part of all the articles that our contributors has written. You can find all our issues. You can find our video channel. You can find about the project that we are doing about the travel book. So everything about the travel, about the magazine. Yeah.
Well, Marco, Antonis, Gary, it's been a pleasure talking to you all. In the meantime, thank you very much, and I'll speak to you guys all very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button to never miss an episode, and follow me on all of my social media platforms. That's it for Taking One of Those Chefs. Hope to see you all soon. Until next time, bye for now.